If you are currently struggling with profitability in your digital agency or your service-based business and you want to increase profits without just hustling and working more hours yourself, but instead use proven steps that have worked so many times to increase the profits of agencies, then in this video I'm going to share you 13 proven ways to boost your profits and get to 20 to 50,000 euro profits per month for your agency. And I'm telling you this because I did it so many times for my own agency, Bright Solutions. I acquired another agency and rebuilt it. We'll show you the results in a minute. And I helped over 200 other agency owners not just grow their revenues, but also increase their profits. And that's when life gets really exciting, because you don't just want revenue and hustle and nothing stays on your bank account because your costs are too high. You want to get the wealth and the freedom you want as an agency owner by having high enough profits and enough time for your business and for your personal life. So let's dive right into it. So in this video, I'm going to show you 13 proven ways to grow the profits of your agency to 20 to 50,000 euro profit per month. And yeah, you might feel anxious about this, and that's what I hear very often from agency owners I worked with, and I experience it myself, that you feel like, oh, I cannot do this, it won't work for me, my clients will quit, I lose my team, my agency will crash against the wall. Calm down, it's just your brain telling you these things because you are in fear. But what I can tell you, that it really always worked. Whenever I worked with an agency or in my own agency to increase the profits, it always worked. I always walked out from this process with higher profits. And then it stays for month after month, right? So you do the work one time and then you benefit for a long period of time until something happens that either reduces your revenues because an important client quits, or your costs go up because for whatever reason, eventually you overhired. But there are always solutions for that, and I'm going to give you the solutions right in this video. You could literally pay tens or hundreds of thousands of euros for these steps to other consultants and eventually still not get the results because it's just theory and they never did it. Or what I did in the past, I acquired shares of other agencies, rebuilt them, increased their profits, but then you lose your shares, and that's the most expensive thing you can do, right? And in this video, you will get it all for free. So let's have a look at the next thing. This, for example, is one agency that I started working with in 2019, and they had a loss of 41,000 euro in 2019 because they had a client, this client quit, but for this client, they hired more team members, so they ended up with huge fixed costs, and these fixed costs burned their profits, which causes sleepless nights for the agency owner, and the business stagnated. So after we implemented these 13 steps that I'm going to show you in this video, this agency has not only grown their revenues from 500K a year to 1.6 million a year, but also their profits have turned from minus 41,000 in a single year to 457,000 euro profit in a single year. It took around 2 years, but you see that already in 2020, they went back to 130,000 euro profit and recovered from this hard situation. And you already see the trick here, because in 2020, their revenues just increased by approximately 200,000 euro. But the profits significantly increased by 170,000 euro. And that's a big gap. And you see that we didn't just work on growing the revenues to get the profits up. We also worked on increasing the efficiency and cutting costs that currently burn the profits. So let me show you what we did. The first thing I always do is to create a list and analyze the profit margins per client contract and make sure to get to minimum 50, better 70, and in the best case to 70%. This profit margin is calculated by revenue minus the cost you have to spend for fulfillment. No matter if it's freelancers or full-time employees, make sure you can accurately track the costs that have been deployed or allocated for delivering the services. For example, if you have a client that pays you 10,000 euro per month as a retainer, but you have people, they cost you 100 euro per hour because they are expensive freelancers, and they spend 150 hours per month, well, this cannot be profitable, Okay, you are making a loss. And you want to identify those client contracts that are currently causing losses. Because in this case, it's better to not work with these clients if they just burn your money. Or you take ownership for the situation and you improve your cost structure and the efficiency of your service fulfillment. That's what I'm going to show you next. But just as a benchmark, make sure that your service fulfillment, revenue minus direct fulfillment cost, has a profitability of 50%. That is healthy enough to get profitable revenues in any market situation. All right. So next step, strict client management to avoid scope creep or get paid for the work you do. This is what very often happens when you sell unspecified services, retainers, or complex projects, and the scope is not clear. What then happens is the client just wants this on top, on that on top, and demands for this and that service. But if you have a fixed price or fixed retainer, you might want to do it because you want to make this client happy. But in the end, you overspend and your profits suck. And that's a big problem. If you don't even know that this is the root cause of the low profitability, there is no way to fix it. So when you create this list of your clients and you check the revenue compared to the costs to ensure you have minimum 50% profits per client, you also want to consider if the profitability is lower, if you have scope creep, that you are doing work and you don't get paid for. And the solution is just either stop the work or get paid for it. That is what you do with more strict client management. And you should just understand that you always get what you tolerate. And it's getting worse because when you just give away services for free, your clients are trained that they get free services. So it's getting harder for you every month to request for getting paid for the work you do, right? That sounds so stupid, but that's reality. So you need to make sure that you get paid for the work and that you have a clearly defined scope with clearly defined deliverables so that your clients know exactly what they get and what they pay for, and your team also knows what they need to do in order to make your client happy and fulfill the contract. That's all it is about in this step. So then the easiest way to increase your profits is by increasing your prices by 10 to 15%. And this will be 10 to 15% more net profit in the bottom line of your P&L. Because you will just deliver the same services, you won't have more costs, you just have more revenue, and that's plain profit. And this always works, and it's of course a lot easier when you package your services to show more value to your clients. And here's one trick. Eventually, you are doing so many things that you do anyway, but eventually you are not getting paid for, and your client doesn't even see that you're doing it. So if you do good things and you work for free, which is not a good thing, but sometimes it happens, make sure to communicate it to your client and show the additional value and tell them this is an exception, but they are happy to do it to strengthen the cooperation and the relationship. Now here, you want to make sure that when you increase your prices, you show the full value that they get with your service, and then it's easy to rationalize it. I really never saw that a business lost clients when they increased prices by 10 to 15%. Never. It always has a big value for the business, okay? If you are way too cheap, you can even increase your prices by 30 to 50%. Even if you double your prices, some clients might quit, but with the clients that you retain, you will make more money. So that's, again, a benefit for the business, okay? Just do the calculation yourself. You will see it always works out. So next thing is just stop selling your or other people's time for money. That's an outdated, bad, weak, stupid business model. You want to make sure that you sell specific solutions to your clients for a fixed price, a solution that has a high value, or in other words, if clients don't get the value, they suffer from huge pain, and you want to be a relief for this pain. You want to provide the solution, and you can define a much higher price if you are providing clear solutions to well-defined problems. Okay, stop selling time for money. That's outdated. It's a bad business model. It doesn't work anymore. It just stresses you to hell, keeps your agency growing with low profit margins, and won't get you the wealth and the freedom you want. And the root cause and the fault is just in this business model. Okay? So then the next thing is, if you hire team members, team utilization is one of the biggest and most important KPIs to ensure your agency is profitable. Because you have these people on payroll, you pay them, let's say, 5,000 euro per month, including taxes, right? You need to take the full cost. But then they only have like 20% of paid work. I'm not talking about being busy. I'm not talking about being in endless meetings that nobody pays for. I'm not talking about cleaning the coffee machine in the kitchen, right? This is non-billable work. I'm talking about utilization, which means people are doing paid client work. So they get paid for. Their costs are covered by revenue. And you want to get to a utilization of minimum 80% to ensure that it's worth keeping these people in the business because you make money. You can compensate 1 month of a loss. You can compensate 2 months of losses. No problem. But when it goes beyond that, you need to make a decision. And to make a decision, you need to look at utilization. You look at the profitability of your team members in the same way as one of the first steps. You look at the profitability of your client contracts. Okay? And whatever is cancer on the body of your business, cut it away. It just creates more harm than it does anything good to your business. Good. Next thing is analyze your overhead. If you have cars, salary for managers that don't get paid for the work they do for the client because they are just managing the team, which by the way is important, but not too much. Otherwise your overhead is too high. If you have an office, if you have many tools that are not directly paid by your clients, then all this is overhead. So if your overhead is higher than 25%, that means your business is delivering the services too inefficiently. You have to do too many other things that nobody pays for because they don't provide value, but they are still there costing you money. Then you need to look at how can you provide the services in the same way with the same quality, but with less overhead. Okay, cut the office if you can work virtually. That's a huge overhead cost that has no real value, except the social component, that's for sure. But do you really need this to deliver high quality services? Or is it enough to just save on office costs and meet your team once a week or once a month to socialize? That works because that's how I run my business as well. We have 12 employees only, locally in different cities, of course, in Germany. But then we have over 120 freelancers in 67 countries. We never meet them in person. They have their social life private in their environment, but they come together in well-organized processes that work very efficiently to deliver client services. And that makes them happy and clients happy, and that generates profits for the business. Okay, that's why your overhead should not be higher than 25%. Now, you want to also analyze unproductive communication time. You do this by looking at, you need to track it, of course, right? You need to track it. If people resist tracking, make them track the time. Otherwise, you are just flying blindly. You are just driving a car with closed eyes. You wouldn't do that. It's deadly, isn't it? So you want to make sure that you understand how much time people spend unpaid in meetings. And meetings are the number one indicator how inefficient your operations are, how much noise there is, how many mistakes are created, how many meetings need to happen just because it's not clear what people should do. And if you analyze your unproductive communication time, you will sometimes get a shock because it's so much. But once you see the data, you can manage it and you can fix it. And you fix it typically by one of the next steps that I'm going to show you. And the next thing is to clarify the scope per client, which also contributes to the scope creep assessment that I showed you as the third step. But this one is important because when it's not clear what your clients should get, then your team might still be busy and do work, but there are a lot of failures, not objective failures compared to the requirements, but failures in the eyes of your clients. And they are ultimately the ones to judge it because they pay the money. So when you see a lot of failures, track them. Make sure that clients have a portal, like a ticket system, to track failures. And then you can count or first assess how many of these failures are real failures and how many of these failures are just an additional scope expansion, or other words, scope creep, right? And if it's a scope expansion, then you should get paid for, while for a failure, well, clients typically don't like to pay, and that's okay. So you want to make sure that you reduce failures and you get more billable hours. You get more money for the work you do because you found out that this is not a failure, but it's just a scope extension, okay? But if there are many failures and you see it, well, you want to make sure that you have well-defined requirements because your team works like a system and you know this. Shit in, shit out. Okay, if you put shit into a system, you can just get shit out. If you have a shitty process and you automate it, you have a shitty automated process, right? That's just how it is. You need to make sure that it's very clear what your team needs to deliver. Expectations are well set, and then they have the chance to deliver failure-free. Otherwise, there is no way. Good. Build quality standards. Once you have the scope defined, once you have your deliverables defined, now you can create a quality standard based on what your clients should deliver. You can create templates, SOPs, AI apps, even without coding, right? That's how we've built our AI funnel generator. We first defined, okay, we build funnels for clients, and a funnel has these components, which are the deliverables. Now we've created a quality standard, which defines the steps to implement this funnel. And then we created ChatGPT prompts, and then we turned these templates plus ChatGPT prompts into an AI app. And that's how we boosted the efficiency of our service fulfillment for funnels and so our profitability. So that's very important to increase productivity and profitability and make AI work for you and not against you. Yeah, and then this is hard and most people don't want to talk about it. But honestly, this is one of the most important things you have to do as a business owner. If you see utilization of your team is too low, right, and you have no idea how to increase the utilization because you don't get enough revenue in, you need to lay off some team members. Yes, it hurts. It's not pleasant. I also don't like it. So still, I did it many times because it was necessary. And I can tell you, it's always a good thing because at the end, it opens up some seats to hire new and better employees and freelancers. And sometimes it's a good idea to just get fresh skills, fresh culture, fresh people into your business. It was always a good thing. It always paid off, right? I'm not saying that you need to lay off like 30 people like I did in 1 year in 2018 when I had to struggle with all these things that I'm going to show you here right now. But if it's required, it's required. Then do it. And if you do it, then do it once, but make a hard cut. We will get to this point, okay? So then once you fired some people eventually because it was necessary, you want to make sure that you don't do the same mistake and overhire again. Okay, it's good that when you get a new client that you hire more people, but don't hire them on a permanent payroll because that just increases your fixed cost. And then the next client quits and you have the same problem again. That's how you repeat the same cycles and run in a hamster wheel of always not having enough revenue or not having enough talent. You need to have the flexibility required in order to grow profitably even in uncertain times. So that's why I recommend you hire freelancers. You look at the roles, you cut them down into very narrow, well-defined roles, and you hire experts as freelancers. This allows you to increase your capacity fast when you got a new client, and it allows you to reduce your capacity when you see that a client quits or you don't get the revenue you need to cover the fixed costs that you would have if you hired these people full-time and get them on your fixed costs. So hiring freelancers definitely changed a lot. And I would always recommend hiring more freelancers than full-time employees because you have the certainty that when you don't get the revenues required to operate profitably, you can reduce some costs. And that is a big relief. Otherwise, you will have a lot of sleepless nights. I can't tell you how many nights I woke up looking at my phone, opening the P&L and just looking at the losses we had. And I had no idea how to escape these losses and get back to profits, right? Once I did these 13 steps multiple times, and then now I know how it goes. It's always the same routine, right? Yeah, so when you make a cut, no matter what, no matter which of these steps you implement, do it once and do it consequently, because when you do it every single month, right, you fire a person here, you reduce costs there, and it goes month after month after month. It's highly demotivating for you. It's very demotivating for your team. And it's also frustrating for your clients. And everyone lives in uncertainty and they don't know what happens next. They lose trust in the business. And that's the worst thing that can happen. Because when people lose trust in the business, guess what happens? They stop working with the business. And then your clients quit and your team quits and then you're alone. So back to ground zero. You don't want to do that. That's why make a hard cut, make it consequently. Trust, it always worked for me. It always worked for all agencies I ever worked with. Make this cut. Get back to healthy profits and then operate from a position of strength to grow it again in a healthy way without just hiring more people, getting that on your payroll. Okay, that's the next thing. And then, when your profitability is okay and you're making 20 to 50% EBIT, so which is the relation of revenue minus your direct costs related to sales minus your overhead, right? That's what stays in your business on your bank account, basically. If that is okay, then, you have a healthy business. Now you can reinvest money into marketing, build a funnel, grow your revenues, and get more absolute profits, right? But when you grow a business that sucks your cash and burns your money because it just generates losses, you just burn more money when you grow it further. There is no way to do this. It doesn't make sense. Get your business back to profitability, and then you can grow it further. Yeah, and that's it. I hope you got some value and some inspiration and some motivation that if your business currently is not profitable enough, these 13 steps make it profitable again. And one last word, don't be afraid that this might be the end of your business. It never is, it never was. It will be the end for sure if you just procrastinate and think, eventually I should do it, but you just don't do it because you are too anxious and you just feel the uncertainty and you're just not taking action. Now you know what you need to do. So there is no way to just not do it. I think you get it. Just do it. That's the only way to get your business back to profits. Okay, I hope this got you some value. If you got some value, just give me a like and subscribe. I will publish more of these videos twice a week to help you grow your agency more profitably, faster, and with less work, thanks to the power of systems, automation, and AI, and 13 steps to boost your profits. Cheers and happy scaling.